Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we are back with the Nintendo Switch 2, and one of the things I wanted to check out was 8BitDo controller compatibility. If you're not familiar with 8BitDo, they make some really nice modern controllers, and they also make some retro-inspired ones like the SN30 Pro here. And for many, many years, these controllers supported the original Switch console, but out of the gate, they didn't work with the Switch 2. But now there is a firmware update that gets most of their more recent controllers working with the new console. They've got a list that they posted up on their X account here that details all of the controllers that are compatible. So some of the older ones are not, but the newer ones are. And some folks might have these SN30 Pro controllers. It's only the more recent iterations of them. The controller that looks like this one, and look at the font there in the middle, or their new translucent ones here with the Hall effect sticks. The older ones don't, but some of their other new controllers do apparently have a working firmware update. So we're going to install the firmware on all of these controllers and see how they function here with Super Mario Odyssey, that not only will allow us to test the controller's basic functionality, but also the rumble and some of the motion controls too. So let's get to it. Now, I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that these 8BitDo controllers came in free of charge from 8BitDo directly, and a few through their distributor Acnes. However, no other compensation was received. I paid for the Switch here with my own funds. All of the opinions you're about to hear are my own, and no one has reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now, starting with updating the firmware on the SN30 Pro here. Now, the SN30 Pros here use a different upgrade tool for their firmware versus the Ultimate controller and the 2C that we've got here on the desk. So the SN30 uses the upgrade tool, while there are other controllers that are compatible with the Switch 2 use the Ultimate software tool. So if you've got these SN30s, no matter how old they are, the upgrade tool is what you're going to use. And I'm going to upgrade my oldest controller here first. And if this one works, of course, we'll know that the purple one does. So I'm going to attach my USB cable here. I am using the Mac software, but they have a Windows version, of course, as well. And now that I've got it plugged in here, you can see that it has a firmware update that will add support for Switch 2. So why don't we go ahead and run that update. All right, the firmware upgrade was successful on this one. And I will say I've had some difficulties working with their firmware upgrade tools. 2 days ago, the upgrade tool didn't work with these controllers at all. Today it did. And the other issue I'm having is that my 2C controller here wasn't connecting to my Mac. It would connect and disconnect every time I loaded up the software. So I have switched over to Windows, and hopefully we'll have better luck updating it now. So as you can see here, the controller was recognized, and this is the 8BitDo Ultimate software that this controller works with. And as you can see, we've got a firmware update here. And if I click on the log, you can see that this will add support for Switch 2. So what I'm going to do is update the 2C here. And after that's done, I'm going to do the Ultimate controller here. This is their new yellow one, which I think looks pretty cool. And once that is done, we'll try them all on the Switch. So stay tuned, and we'll see if we've got some compatibility now. All right, first up, let's try out the SN30 here. I'm going to hold down Y and start, which will put the controller into its switch mode. And if it works correctly, what should happen here is that the system, as it just did, detected the controller. So now if I can get out of the screen here, now that we have a working controller, it picked this up as a Pro controller. Not bad here for a start. So next up, why don't we jump into the game and see if all the motion controls work. All right, so here we are in Mario Odyssey, and all of the physical controls here are working as expected. The jump commands are working, all the buttons are doing what they're supposed to do. And I think Mario Odyssey actually looks a little nicer here on the Switch too, which is nice to see. So let's take a look at the motion controls. We of course have that uplift with your hat thing, which seems to work. And then we've got the boomerang action here as well. So it looks like all of the motion controls are mapping properly here, at least on the SN30 Pro. I'm going to try out the other controllers, and then we'll talk about a couple more things. So the 2C controller worked just fine. The motion controls were working properly, along with all of the regular controls as well. And the same is true with the Ultimate controller. That one as well worked just fine with all the motion controls running properly, and of course the analog sticks and the buttons all working as expected as well. So it looks as though we do have compatibility here and all is good. Now, one thing that I had to do was go into the menu and turn vibration on. It wasn't working initially. So if you go into System Settings and go to your controller settings, there is an option for enabling controller vibration. I don't know if I turned that off by accident at some point, but mine was not vibrating until I turned that on. But when I did, all of the controllers were vibrating appropriately with different parts of the game. This doesn't support that HD rumble that the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons are known for, so this is just a regular kind of rumble thing, but it seems to be working just fine on here. I also connected them up via USB. I did the port right on the top here along with the ports on the dock, and it worked well there too. From a latency perspective, I did test all of these controllers, and the way I test is I shoot the screen here at 240 frames per second. I push a button and see how long that button press takes to register on screen. What I got in Bluetooth mode on all three of these controllers was the same exact latency that I saw with the Joy-Cons when I had them docked in their little docking thing here. So there doesn't seem to be any latency penalty here. But oddly, I did not see any improvement to latency when I connected the controllers directly via USB to the console, and that includes connecting it to the USB-C port directly on the tablet itself. So there was just no benefit to it, which was surprising because these 8BitDo controllers do a lot better on a PC when you connect them with a hardwire. So there you go. It looks like these newer 8BitDo controllers are working with the Switch 2, provided you get the most recent firmware update installed on them. Remember that it's only the newer ones, the ones on the list here from the 8BitDo post we saw on X the other day, but they are noting that more compatibility updates are coming soon, so it's possible we might see some of their older controllers that work with Switch 1 get some Switch 2 support. But at the moment, it is just the newer ones here. So if you have an older one, you may have to wait a little bit longer. That will do it for this one. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.